Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. First Congregational Church, United Church of Christ of Kittery, is a welcoming spiritual community, anchored in love and growing in faith. It is our mission to inspire spiritual growth, to nurture all families, and embrace the wider community. No matter who you are or where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. It's wonderful to see you all this morning, particularly today, which is our Sunday School Kickoff Sunday. And we had a family here with children at the 8 o'clock service. They'll be back next week for Sunday School. So it's good to see families and children noticing it's Sunday School time. We'll be talking more about Sunday School later in the worship service. As you'll see on the bulletin, inside at the back, or on the back page of the bulletin, there's a lot happening in the life of this church. Just a correction on one of those first items. There will be a Bible study this Monday. We made a mistake in the bulletin. There will be Bible study this Monday. There won't be Bible study the following Monday. What's that, the 30th? The 30th?
So there's a swap.
There's swap.
Yes, this week, not next week.
Yeah. And let's see, I think the first Monday in October, is that right? That's canceled?
That's canceled.
So two Mondays in a row there won't be, but there will be this tomorrow. And you join that through online. And that link is available from the church office. So the next two Sundays, just reminder, 9 o'clock worship services, just one service for the next two Sundays. Next Sunday, we have Reverend John Fiscus, the new Associate Conference Minister of the main conference, United Church of Christ, will be preaching for us here during the 9 o'clock service. That will be followed by a congregational conversation with Reverend Fiscus, who will be talking to us about the search process. Then on October 6th, Sunday the 6th, we'll have a 9 o'clock service. That will be followed by a congregational meeting, at which time we'll be taking some actions around the search process and moving ahead. We'll be hearing more about that next week when Valerie shares with us the warrant calling us to that congregational meeting. Today, following worship, there is a congregational conversation. First, we'll have coffee and goodies. Then a conversation that's going to look at the survey results of our ministerial priorities that 67 of you filled out. We'll be looking at those survey results and talking about what that says to us about how we can move ahead as a vital congregation. So you're all invited to that conversation today following worship. Next two Sundays, what time is worship? 9. See you then. Anything else to be shared for the good of the church life today? So if you take the 12 months of the year and figure out what month has the most birthdays in it, I'm wondering if it might be September. Because I know Donna, Rick, Chuck, Moran had birthdays this month, is that right? And a few others? Christine? Is today? Happy birthday. In the September group, Christine. Oh man, and you admit it, what, 40? A privilege. Other September birthdays.
My daughter, Charlene.
Charlene, Stella? Dale? Dale. Is it tomorrow?
No, the 28th.
The 28th. Rosa? On the 30th? Wow. I think we need a happy birthday song. Billy, are you able to lead us in the happy birthday song? I invite our deacon for today to come forward and lead us in the call to worship. The call to worship, there are a left-hand side, this is the left-hand side, a right-hand side, this is the right-hand side. Charlotte, thank you for leading us.
Please join me in the call to worship. Heaven's light forever shines, earth's shadows fly. Life, like a dome of many-colored glass, stains the light radiance of eternity.
What is green? Green is the kind tree showing its color in all seasons. Giving hope, no one comes scared. What is red? What is yellow? What is blue? What is orange? What is white? An apple is red. The sun is yellow, the sky is blue, orange is orange, a cloud is white, and the earth is brown.
And if I asked you, could you tell me, what color is love?
Love is pink. Love is purple. Love is purple. Love is intense.
Love is pink and purple and people.
And
Joy and laughter and singing, and most of all, love is you. Please pass the peace with each other.
Peace of God be with Good morning, Harry. Good to see you. Good morning, Sally.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hard part.
Morning, Milton. So I invite you to open up to page 31 for our opening hymn, All Things Bright and Beautiful. And as you're inspired to sing, I also should remind you that next Sunday the choir starts. And is there going to be choir rehearsal on Thursday, Billy?
Yes.
So if you'd like to come and join the choir Thursday at 6:30 p.m., let's stand and sing All Things Bright and Beautiful. be seated. Our gospel lesson from the lectionary for this week is from Mark chapter 9, verses 30 through 37. I'll be reading from the Message version. Leaving there, Jesus and the disciples went through Galilee. Jesus didn't want anyone to know their whereabouts, for he wanted to teach his disciples. Jesus told them, "The Son of Man is about to be betrayed to some people who want nothing to do with God. They will murder him. 3 days after his murder, he will rise alive." They didn't know what he was talking about, but were afraid to ask him about it. They came to Capernaum. When he was safe at home, Jesus asked them, "What were you discussing on the road?" The silence was deafening. They had been arguing with one another. Who among them was greatest? Jesus sat down and summoned the 12. "So you want first place? Then take the last place. Be the servant of all." Jesus put a child in the middle of the room. Then, cradling the little one in his arms, Jesus said, "Whoever embraces one of these children as I do, embraces me, and far more than me, God who sent me." Thanks be to God for this gospel of new life.
Thursday was a really good example. There was a potluck here at church, and we had some folks putting on the potluck, 4 folks doing that. We had, I don't know how many people that brought great food. Oh my God, the folks at this church can really cook. And then we had Brad sharing talents about cybersecurity. That's what happens in our church. We have people sharing their gifts, and that was a great example. Now we have a chance to share our gifts this morning. Money and time and talents we celebrate this time of offering.
Cloth that could be found. And Francis was known to even give that up to strangers and go naked if he perceived their need to be greater than his. Sister Lorena and Saint Francis moved wisely in their serendipitous moments of seeing that what is holy is evident by revealing it, rather than by covering it up. Expressions of the sacred are meant to be shared. What exceptional courage and humility, acceptation takes to move wisely like this, to replace what we have grown into with what shows itself truly vital to life. It's what Jesus taught, as we heard in today's gospel lesson. Tired of his disciples' old arguments about who's going to be greatest, Jesus took a child onto his lap to show what true faith was like. Last Sunday, I talked about serendipity being like when our inner being resonates with a recognition of sacred wisdom. For those of you who may have been following along with me in the 7 themes of Stephen Johnson's 2010 book, Where Good Ideas Come From, The History of Innovation. After serendipity, and there's a whole chapter on serendipity, there's a whole chapter then on exaptation. In his blog, Stephen Johnson includes exaptation as a type of serendipity. along with 5 other types of serendipity. There is the serendipity of messiness. I like that. There's a serendipity that's a grab bag. A serendipity of opposites. A serendipity of error. And a serendipity of new neighbors. Serendipity, amid the messiness of life, is when something emerges out of the stew that changes our direction in vital ways. It's ironic how messiness gives room for serendipity to happen. Stephen Johnson calls it the Fleming maneuver, in reference to Alexander Fleming, who discovered penicillin in 1928. Sir Alexander Fleming was a Scottish medical researcher who was known to keep a very messy lab. After returning from vacation, Fleming discovered, amidst the clutter that he hadn't cleaned up before he went on vacation, and nobody cleaned it up while he was gone, that an influenza virus experiment had got contaminated and became moldy. Then he noticed that the mold had kept the virus from spreading. Fleming later explained, "I certainly didn't plan to revolutionize all medicine by discovering the world's first antibiotic or bacteria killer, but I guess that's exactly what I did." We messy people might not like to admit it, but that's how we are. Benjamin Franklin, renowned for the clutter in his life, wrote in his autobiography at 80 years old, "If only I'd managed to tidy up, I really would have got something good done." Benjamin Franklin was also known for being tongue-in-cheek, and it might be precisely in the midst of his chaotic life that he was able to connect the dots that gave the world so many inventions and democracy. Serendipity can be like when you reach into a grab bag and pick out exactly what you need in life now. In St. Francis's time, when people were not very familiar with the Bible, but wanted spiritual guidance, they might stick their finger at random in the Bible. They'd open up, and that would tell them what to do in life. It's called, in the Catholic Church, it's called sortes biblicae. Francis is known to have done this multiple times in his life, and each time he landed on the same sort of scripture. One time, go sell what you have and give to the poor. Another time, take nothing for the journey, no staff, no bag, no bread, no money, and do not have 2 tunics. A third time, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. No wonder Francis was such an ascetic person who would give away his tunic. I haven't done sortes biblica since my young adult years, though the lectionary can sometimes feel that to me. The wisdom possible, though, through it, is as much from how we choose to interact with something coming to us randomly as it is some sort of sign unto us from above. When we're not sure of where to go in life, taking some blind stabs at possible solutions just might bring out the best of us. There is a serendipity that finds an answer in the opposite place you might have expected. This is Stephen Johnson's post-it note epiphany. And it comes from the story of the chemist and inventor Spencer Silver. Spencer Silver was a 3M company researcher. In 1968, Spencer Silver was assigned a project to develop a superglue that could be used in aircraft manufacturing. He ended up with something quite opposite. And the glue that's on Post-it notes was invented. So we can take these pieces of paper, stick them on the fridge, stick them on the closet, stick them anywhere, and they just keep on sticking. Serendipity can be when the very opposite of what you're looking for creates even better solutions. It's like Jesus telling the disciples, the first will be last, and the last will be first. I love the title and premise of a theology book by James Allison called The Joy of Being Wrong. The joy of being wrong. And how James Allison makes the case that it is in the disciples being wrong in their fight about who will be first, and wrong about their expectation of divine punishment for forsaking Jesus in his hour of need. It is in those times of being wrong that God is then able to come in and show what really matters is the opposite of what they had worried about. The opposite of what they expected. The service of love and forgiveness was able to be shown. Serendipity can be like when an accident brings together a whole new set of possibilities that makes your life shine. Stephen Johnson originally called it the serendipity of error. But perhaps seeing the error in this, he now calls it the serendipity of brilliant mistakes. I mean, who wants to admit they've made errors? A brilliant mistake sounds better than me. Our human ability to make good come from our errors and mistakes is a type of brilliance that shines a light on wise choices. Artisans show the brilliance of their craft when they take a flaw or mistake that happens on their project and turn it into the most beautiful feature. In fact, it could be said that life goes better when things don't always go right. A social experiment showed that a group that was given information that they might find to be incorrect, in other words, that they had to fact check, was far more innovative than a group that only received information that they knew to be undeniably correct. An element of doubt is so necessary to getting at the truth that one of the most prominent gospel stories of the post-resurrection time is about doubting Thomas, saying, I'm not going to believe once I see the holes in the hand and the slice in the side. If exaptation, messiness, blind stabs, being wrong, or brilliant mistakes aren't enough to bring a serendipitous moment to your life, then there's also the possibility of finding new neighbors. Serendipity can be when, as something foreign to you becomes your neighbor, you're able to combine things that had always existed apart from each other into the best creation ever. This new neighbor's way of serendipity has created one of my favorite foods. Remember the 1970s Reese's peanut butter commercial? You have somebody eating a chocolate bar, somebody with an open can of peanut butter. They go around the corner and they bump into each other. And they find two great tastes that taste great together. A fact of Scripture, too often repressed in the teachings of the church, is that the Bible is a combination of a variety of ancient religions and philosophies. Religions and philosophies that were neighbors that learned how to coexist and get to a higher truth together. This week, at an interreligious meeting in Singapore, Pope Francis said that religions are like different languages in order to arrive at God. But God is a God for all. And if God is a God for all, then we are all sons and daughters of God. This coming from the Pope, accepting a variety of religions. The Pope isn't saying anything different than what Scripture is. But even so, he is being denounced and excoriated by conservatives in the church and beyond who are putting politics before faith. My hopes for civic, social, and cultural stability are rankled in this election season. And I'm not the only one. People I know who have been in the center, both within the Democratic and Republican parties, and some who I know who have created very successful businesses, have volunteered to me in the last 6 months that their contingency plans for post-election time include the possibility of having to emigrate from the United States. It is disconcerting. But I keep confidence that the serendipitous ways of moving wisely will break through. That nothing can keep the power of God from touching our lives and making a difference. That wisdom will be available. So, that efforts to separate people in Springfield, Ohio will backfire, as Haitians and non-Haitians find the strength of being neighborly, so that errors become an occasion to get better and not tear down. So that in the face of opposition, a new way will emerge to the benefit of humanity. So that in the blind stabs of groping for an answer, the deepest human cares and sensibilities will come to light. So that the solutions of the messiness of American culture will arise from this glorious melting pot without having to wipe out what gets in our way. So that a change of habits, so that we can change our habits and adapt our lives to be what truly our soul's desires. Serendipity is God's way of breaking through. And there are so many ways for it to happen. Let's be open to it, by God.